What's up everyone, NanMan here, and we're doing another modern video today. It's been a little bit since we've put up a modern meta breakdown video. I know we've been doing it kind of monthly for a little bit, and then we kind of fell off because, grad school, but I'm almost done. I'll be done next month. So we've been putting up other content on the channel, cube videos. We've also been putting up kind of like reprint videos because of specific sets that have been coming out recently. So if you guys haven't seen those, check those out. But we're gonna be putting up kind of all kinds of content over the next couple of weeks and months, but don't worry, there will be modern stuff. So we're going to be doing kind of an update slash deck tech style of video this time, and we're going to be highlighting a deck that kind of has changed quite a bit after the last banning that took place in February, because now there's no more Simian Spirit Guide, legal and modern. So the deck that we're going to be highlighting today is Living In. So I'm going to show you kind of the old list a little bit, at least of the cards that aren't good anymore, we can't really run them, and shifting it over to kind of our new list. So previously it was a Jund style Living In. That was kind of the most easy way to play because of Simian Spirit Guide. And then we have since switched it up. So I'll show you guys a little bit. All right, so of course Simian Spirit Guide, no longer here. Demonic Dread, that was our other Cascade spell. So basically the way the deck works is you're going to be casting one of these Cascade spells, one of 8. That's kind of the magic number for this deck, in order to cast Living In, allow you to get back a bunch of cards from your graveyard. So Violent or Demonic Dread is out, along with Simian Spirit Guide. So we've got some cyclers that are also going to be out, because now that we have adjusted our mana base. So sorry, Giant Insect, you're out as well. Horror was one of our kind of newer, right? I say newer, Almond Cat is when that guy came out. But we are no longer running that as well. So all those gone. So here's some of the cards. I've had Will up here because this was in the previous list, because you could cycle it for black. Enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of target player's library, and put them back in any order. You could run this still. It's a fine card. It can fit in for like flex spots, because every list that we talk about has at least 1 or 2 flex spots. So we'll put that kind of up there in that maybe pile. From the rest of the cards, this pile here is all the cards that are still good in the new version. So Street Wraith, of course, is going to be great. Oh yeah, we've since changed a little bit. It's now 4 color. Everything except for black. Sorry, black, you get the cut. So our Desert Beast gets to hang out and still be a part of the fun squad. So we basically get our cyclers, which I'll try to keep together here. Violent Outburst stays, red-green, we could be able to do that. Again, the Cascade. It's got another ability on it. Creatures you control get +1/+0 until the end of the turn. Not really as relevant as kind of the Cascade. That's really what we care about, right? So here's our Cascade and our payout card. Living In, that's what we're trying to do. Basically, it blows up all the creatures on the battlefield and then brings back all the creatures from the graveyard that weren't blown up by Living In. So some nice little synergies. Now, there's 4 here in my pile. Most of the new lists are only running 3 of them. So we'll take a note of that. You can hang out up there. And now let's kind of shift gears into the new stuff, right? There was an old list that was running around for a while. That was a mono blue kind of Living In list. That was years ago that people were running it. But let's talk a little bit about some upgraded cyclers. So being able to come out and do something when it enters the battlefield is pretty nice, right? Giving evasion, everybody gets, not everyone, target creature gets flying until the end of turn, and this already flies. So it's basically like, I'm going to cast Living In, bring everything back. Oh, and by the way, next turn I'm going to kill you. So you have a turn to try to deal with this. Flying is pretty nice. So we've got, of course, 4 of those are going to be in our list. You'll see this pile is going to be much larger. Again, this set of cards here was in our previous mono blue Living In list. So not much changing. Again, you want big dumb dudes that get to do stuff. cycling has to be included for it, because the idea of the deck is we're going to cycle a bunch of stuff. All right, drop this down, pay 1, boom, throw it in my graveyard. Same thing for this guy. He does have a nice little added bonus for being a Sphinx. You know, whenever you cycle or discard another card, you get to scry 1 when this is on your on the battlefield. So a little bit of added bonus, kind of similar to the duty that this guy was filling. Is, hey, it matters when this is out and you're cycling and doing stuff. So Curator of Mysteries is got that nice added bonus. But that's kind of our cycling stuff, with one slight exception. So it's about 20 cycling cards in this pile. Here's some of our other things that we've got added in here. All right, our Glass Dust Hulk is really nice too. Whenever another artifact comes into play under your control, this gets +1/+1 till the end of the turn and unblockable. So usually you're seeing at least 2 of these running around. Some people might run more than that, but additional cyclers is always nice. Plus it's just a 3/4, it's pretty good. I have seen some lists running this 3/6 giant dinosaur because its cycling cost is going to be not relying on a specific mana type. And it's got Vigilance, so again, kind of going for that, hey, we want extra stuff. Right, so we'll put it in our kind of pile of potential stuff. The list that you might see on the screen, though, that I'm highlighting and talking about specific cards, might be a little bit different than the stuff that I'm showing you, but I want to kind of go over things a little bit. So I mentioned earlier in the video that you need 8 of these Cascade spells to try to hit this. So since we're switching and we've taken black out of the list, we're looking for another Cascade spell. And that's where our Ardent Plea comes in, right? So our 3-cost enchantment that has Exalted, so whenever a creature attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1. But then it's also got this Cascade effect that we care about, right? Being able to kind of find something that costs less than this. And since we have a bunch of big dumb dudes that we cycle, there's nothing going to be less than this 0-cost spell. So we are running 4 of these. I talked about flex spots earlier. The mono blue list used to run this, and used to run a lot of these, but I'm a big fan of it. It's basically like a way to handle having Living End in your hand. If for some odd reason that you have drawn all the Living Ends, you don't want to sit here and suspend it, right? Pay 4 mana, wait 3 turns. No, that's not going to go well. So one way to get around that is having an As Foretold in your deck. I like just the 1-of because, you know, I like playing 1-ofs in my decks. So on each of your turn, you put a counter on this, and then you can cast cards from your hand, 1 card per turn. So this includes your opponent's turn, equal to the converted mana cost of how many counters this has. So if you have, it can be 1 or less, right? 2, 3, 4, doesn't matter. So if I have 3 counters on this, that means I can be able to cast stuff like my Ardent Plea and things like that. Or I can cast this because it costs nothing. No converted mana costs, nothing. So I can be able to get around some of the stuff in my hand. So this is kind of like this in-between type thing. Now, one of the reasons why this list and this is sort of deck has gotten better is because of these additions. So these are older cards, pretty easy to find. These newer cards, though, are stronger and a little bit more expensive. But hey, it's modern, right? So Brazen Bar, kind of double duty, right? We get to be a creature, 3/1 flyer, only block creatures flying, and we also can delay. Or if we cast our Living End, and now we can bounce the things that you brought back from your graveyard. So this is kind of delay tactics, bounce opponent stuff that have come back, and it's a creature. So it's like fits into all the categories of things that we want to do. Now there's protection in here as well with our Force of Negation. I have 3 here. Most lists are running 4. One of my cards is in my blue-white control list, so I just haven't pulled it from there yet. But if you're not familiar with this card, if it's not your turn, you can exile a blue spell from your hand rather than pay this spell's mana cost. Counter target non-creature spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. So you can be able to do the cheat out force style of play of exiling a blue card. Well, we happen to have a lot more blue cards available now. All right, but you can also just protect yourself. All right, if you're gonna cascade into a living end, well, hey, guess what? I've got a force negation that I can hard cast to do it. You cannot do this free cost of it when it's on your turn. It has to be on your opponent's turn to be able to do that little cheat out thing. So just be aware of that if you're trying to run this list for the first time. But very, very powerful set of cards here. I don't have any of the lands here with me right now because they're all scattered up into other lists, but because it is a 4-color list, right, you can expect to see lots of fetch lands in here to kind of help things out. You're going to be running kind of this, mainly it's banned with splashing for our red for certain cycling cards for violent outbursts. Because again, remember, these are extremely important. This is kind of the most important synergy to this. You need this to cast this. That's why these piles are kind of right with each other. This is just sort of our payout. This is where we've cycled into it, we've cast Living In. This is now what ends up happening with the deck. So if you're looking for a fun graveyard-based combo style of deck, and you're like, I don't want to play Dredge, this is definitely an option for you. It's got some blue in here, some counter magic. We've got big dumb dudes that are pretty much draft fodder, as they were called back in the day, of like, well, hey, it's a 4/3 flying with cycling, but normally it costs 6 mana. I guess I'll throw it in my list when I drafted this. But now it's like, ooh, I'm going to play this in Modern, and I'm going to cycle this and be able to get people. So here's kind of the breakdown of things. We'll shift gears now so people can be able to see the full breakdown of the list that I'm kind of going to be basing mine off of. You'll see numbers are slightly different because, again, every list should have flex spots in it. Certain combo decks have certain cards that are not fitting in that, right? We're talking about our cascade spells, our living end. Those are our combo pieces. We cannot really shave down. Some lists might run even 4 living end, but because the way that our list is running, because you're drawing a bunch of cards when you cycle, you're okay with it. Now, if you're wondering, okay, what turn am I supposed to be trying to go off on? All right, as that's kind of a good question about when you're playing combo style of decks. You can get away with going off on turn 3, right? That is definitely a possibility if you need to consider wiping the board. If you're playing against a creature-based deck and you're like, all right, let's just get out of there, blow up all of my opponent's stuff, and then I get to be able to kind of restabilize things, and I can always cast this living end stuff, cast another cascade spell later, but for now I need to stay alive and stabilize. Let me boom, blow stuff up and put out 3 guys. Now 3 guys aren't going to win you the game right away, right? That's going to be able to start chipping away at people. You'll be able to do a lot of damage. You could be able to have 4, maybe a little bit more if you're lucky and you get some of your street wraiths in there as well, right? Because you're just paying life to be able to cycle those guys. But that's kind of the breakdown of the list. Sideboard, we've talked about before, it's kind of doing the same things. Hey, I'm going to protect myself. I'm kind of following along these lines of these are ways to keep me alive and keep me being able to combo. So I hope you guys have liked this video. Again, we're going to be highlighting more modern decks on the channel. That is a monthly segment of our show that we're going to be doing. In addition to being able to start doing more cube videos, we've got our podcast that's going, and there's going to be kind of some Commander content that's going to be coming out. So basically, we're going to do a big influx of Magic content coming out on this channel. So thanks for tuning in and watching, guys, and I'll see you all next game.
Hey everyone, NanMan here. I'm a StarCraft 2 and Magic the Gathering content maker and commentator. Thanks for tuning in and watching, guys. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and check the description for more information about other content that I'm doing. I've also got a new podcast, NanMan's Nerd Corner, which you guys can find out on Spotify or iTunes. It's got a bunch of Magic content as well as other stuff. Thanks for tuning in and watching, and I'll see you guys next game.